Today, I want to talk a little bit more about my personal journey and struggle with PTSD, OCD, panic attacks, anxiety attacks. The whole reason why I am here making these videos is to inspire you to know that you can heal what feels like impossible. Because I was once there with very severe symptoms. I was prescribed all sorts of medications that I did not want to take, and I did not take. And I prayed to God to find the right tools to heal me, because I kept having beliefs. If I had the ability to get something in this life, I had the ability to heal it. I kept hearing that. And I also kept hearing, I will not kill myself, but I won't live this way. And those two things really pushed me forward and reconnect with the divine. I was once very connected and I lost it. And in that reconnection, I was guided to the right tools that I want to share more with you today about my journey, how I got there, to inspire you to know there is a way out. Your soul knows, God knows, even though you can feel so lost and alone. Hi, I'm Karlee, and if you're new to my channel, welcome, and I'm happy you're here. And let's go ahead and dive into what I wanted to share today about how I overcame my symptoms. So I want to start with a point that I hear a lot. It's a quote. I don't know who said it, but I like it. I'm going to tell you right now. We don't get what we want, we get what we are. Okay, take that in for a moment. We don't get what we want, which is out there. We get what we are, what we become. Well, how do we become our greatness and what we want to be if we are feeling awful, if we're having terrible thoughts and terrible feelings? How do we become great and what we want? Exactly. So these are the people that find me, people that are stuck and struggling. Your mind's a mess, your body's a mess. I worked at a chronic pain clinic for 9 years, so whether or not you have mental, emotional, or physical distress, overwhelm, trauma, stress, up the yin yang, I am here to help you start to understand why and what you can do about it. So before I give you tools, I'll share a little bit more about me on my journey. And I did write a book called Can You Please Talk to My Trauma? And another book called Can You Please Talk to My Girlfriend? And they both embody and show how I yearned for self-love, how I thought I had it, and then how God was showing me I could have it even more. So in either of those books, if you want more information, feel free to dive deeper. I'll leave the links below. But for now, I'll just go ahead and dive in and share with you. So I used to feel very connected. There's a lot I can say, but I want to keep it short for today. Growing up with meditation, you might have heard me say that in some of my other videos. I felt very connected. I loved going within and learning about the divine and God and myself and my higher self. And then what I needed to learn showed up, which was, excuse me, I have an itch. A lot of you may notice I don't edit my videos. I have 2 kids, very little time to work, and if I had to edit and do all the technology stuff, I wouldn't be making these. So thanks for bearing with me. So when I lost my connection, I didn't understand why. Why did I feel disconnected? Why couldn't I feel my heart? Why was I having overthinking, suicidal thoughts? Suicidal meaning my thoughts were so dark and the pain in my body was so big that I would hear, I don't want to be here. I want to kill myself. I would hear that. And coming from me, that was very confusing and weird, because I thought I loved my life, my family, my friends growing up. And then I went through some trauma and hit a very, very dark spell. So I had a few relationships with men that I had no boundaries. And I didn't realize these men were hurting me. It was very subtle at first, until God gave me a big one that I loved the most, thought I was going to marry. And he was the most violent because his childhood trauma had a lot of anxiety and violence between his mom and dad. He hadn't healed. So when we fell in love, we triggered all of each other's stuff. And that's what relationships really do. We show where we're not clean. So he showed me I had no boundaries, and I showed him love meant violence, destruction, interruption, because that's what his mom and dad did to each other when he was a little boy. So the great news about that violent relationship, which took me to my knees, like I said, I really dive deep into it in my book. It's really intense. It's a beautiful love story, heartbreaking. It's a roller coaster of a ride, and so I want to share a little with you. It also brings up another point of faith. As dark as it got, and a lot of people that know me or don't know me and read my book get very upset about the violence I went through. However, I want to tell those people and tell you, thank God that happened, because I am who I am today because of that. Like, it woke me up. I learned to fall in love with myself on a whole new level. I would not be making these videos. I would not be as happy and grounded and connected to myself. Forget the outer world. I've created a lot of good things. A home I love, a healthy marriage I love where I'm respected and we can communicate, 2 beautiful children, a career I love. I keep creating wonderful things, and I want to tell you right now, not to take away from any of it, none of that matters without my connection and self-love to me. So if all of that goes, I am so in love with me and God and sitting in quiet at my altar that I could never have found that without hitting bottom. Oh my gosh, if you're watching this and you are at your bottom, there's not only so much hope, it's good. I know it doesn't feel good because I was there. Here's the thing. I was at my bottom for too many years. And that's why I really, really am putting myself out there now, because I want to shorten other people's suffering. Like what took me 10, 20 years to figure out could take people a lot less. Because I remember when I was at my bottom and I didn't know anything about trauma, suicide, fight, flight, freeze response, all the stuff I go into. I started Googling, like, I got real. So that's the first step. I'm going to come back in a circle for a second. I feel like I'm being like Trump, my husband says, where he goes in circles and talks. So stay with me. I wasn't awake. So that was a huge, I'm really curious. I'd love to hear in the comments. I feel like a lot of people that I meet are so awake and ready. But who out there was like me, so not awake? Like if you walked up to me and said, hey, do you need to work on yourself? Back then, I'd be like, no, I'm good. So that was my problem, and why I'm so grateful for my most in love and destructive relationship all in one. So it wasn't just a violent relationship. It was also somebody I was the most in love with. So you put those two together and that creates complex PTSD, not just PTSD, because now you've got the love. It was more than one time that he was violent. I would not leave because I was going to marry him. So that's why it's complex, C-PTSD. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference? So C-PTSD, even like a war veteran, they see a lot, multiple times of abuse or overwhelm. Those are the people that find me and want to heal those layers of pain in their body and mind, and we do. There's a way out. Let me just tell you that right now. There is a way out because I found it. Okay. And I did create an online program. So I'm going to put all my links in the description, and it's for donation. I tell God, I hate sales. I don't want to try to sell things and make money. I know you will provide for me. I want to give people the tools because it drives me nuts how many healthcare providers out there are prescribing medications. You don't need medications. You need support. You need understanding. You need someone that gets you and can help guide you on your path, whether or not it's a book, whether or not it's sitting in person, whether or not it's doing an online program. You need tools and wisdom. Wisdom is power. You need to understand, this was me. I wanted to understand why I was the way I was. Why was I suffering? So some of my clients have never known joy. They've suffered their whole lives. And some are like me who knew joy, then the joy went away and now we're suffering and now it's very confusing. Where was my joy? I used to be happy. Now I'm freaking miserable. This makes no sense. Doesn't matter where you're at. You can start now. So I did go in a big circle and I'm going to try to get back to where I was. So after that violent relationship, towards the end, I heard a little voice that said, next time you are alone, I lived with this person. Next time you are alone with this person, you could die. wake up call. And I remember in that moment, I chose myself over him. And that was the greatest choice I could ever make. So the very next day, I asked him to take his stuff and leave, and he did, and he respected that. He also said to me, go get help. And in my brain, I was like, why am I going to get help? I'm not the violent one. You are. But he was right. I went and got help and saw my role. So it doesn't matter if you're Mr. Nice, Mrs. Nice like me. We all have a role. We all have to own our part. I didn't know that. I grew up with more spirituality and everything's okay. My grandma was like that. My dad is like that. My mom is a little bit more real, but still, it was just too much. There was dysfunction in my household growing up. There was fear. I said that in another video, and I want to be real about it. As great as my parents and siblings and my family was, first of all, every single family up there is no perfect family. Unless you're a master, unless you're Jesus Christ, we all have something to work on. So in my household, the problem was it wasn't real, and we need truth to set us free. That is for sure. It's not about blame. It's about supporting and honoring your experience. So if we have too much denial, a child absorbs the fear, anxiety, manipulation, lies, all the distrust that parents may be going through within their relationship. And then the kid internalizes it and then goes and creates that same life to heal those wounds. So with all my spiritual studies, I love this. The soul picks your mom and dad. I picked my parents picked theirs. Because my soul said, in this life, I want to overcome X, Y, and Z. I want to learn to be real. I want to hit my bottom. I want to find my boundaries. I want to grow. I want my vessel to be a vessel of God and the divine, and not a human love and not a materialistic love. So I picked my family to evolve. So people will say, well, it's not about blame. We can't blame. No. That's not the point. The point is we have childhood wounds that we hold on to because they keep manifesting. All of our traumas, all of our chronic pain, all of our health issues, all of our emotional issues, mental, physical, come from our childhood programming that our soul picked to come in and evolve. I hope that helps. So I kept attracting men that were showing the same patterns that I grew up with until I broke it, till I learned to fall in love with me. And so my biggest wake-up call, so you may have had this too, you keep attracting the same relationship until you hit your bottom. That is good. That is when I just chose me. I was like, you know what? I don't need a man. I don't need a relationship. I get why nuns and monks take the spiritual path. And when I embraced that and fell in love with me and wasn't afraid to be alone, it wasn't lonely, it was empowering, and did things that I loved and healed my nervous system and my heart and all my programming and patterns. And I still work on it. Don't get me wrong. I still work on it because things can lie dormant. So that's another thing if you're confused. Why all of a sudden things lie dormant and then something will trigger it. And that's what happened to me. My stuff lay dormant for many years until something triggered it. And I don't want to go into that because I'll lose my track of thought, and I want to keep this short. And I can make another video on what triggered it for me. But for now, when that stuff comes up, it is your opportunity to choose you. I chose me. And that faith, I hope you can feel through the camera right now, it stays with me. So if I have a hard time now, I can quickly go back to that. I know to ask for support. I don't sit alone with my pain ever because I did for too many years. I suffered unnecessarily when I could have asked for help sooner. And that's why, again, I'm here. Videos, books, online program. I even have a free guide. I'll put all my links in this description because really my content is for anyone suffering, whether it's big T or little t, big traumas, little traumas. It doesn't matter. It's all relative. If you're stressed, if you're overwhelmed, if you have labels, if you've been on meds, if you've been in therapy, if you basically just don't like your life and you want things to be different, the reason why is we're playing out programmed patterns in our nervous system, in our subconscious mind, that our soul and spirit want us to learn to move forward. And what do we need for that? Tools, support, understanding, to know we're not alone. For years, I'm much better now as my pain and wounds have healed. If I met someone that understood me or supported me, I would cry out of joy and pain. Now I just receive and feel some maybe light tears and joy. But I've been working at this for 15 years hard. I've been coaching people, gosh, for almost 30, like 25, 28 years. I've been coaching people. And then the last 15 years as I healed my trauma, really much bigger traumas, big stuff. And it's all relative. Do not think that somebody's trauma is bigger than yours, because you may not even be aware of what your pain or trauma is. You just may know that you're suffering and you don't like the way you're thinking or feeling. That means there's a root cause. I was out in the garden yesterday, and I don't really garden, and I was just pulling weeds like crazy. It was a really sunny day. I'm in Northern California. It was beautiful here. Bay Area, Santa Cruz by the beach. And as I was pulling weeds, some of them just come out so easily. It's beautiful, and you see the root go way down. And then there was this one that would not come out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to tell my clients or my people that watch me. This root was so sticky. And in my yard, most of them just come out. It's so cathartic, just pulling them out. This one would not come out. And I was like, this is it. This is it. This is what trauma feels like. It's sticky, it's hard, but eventually I got it. So that means don't give up on yourself. Keep going. I keep going. Some mornings I wake up with stuff moving and it doesn't feel good. But where something used to take me weeks and days takes me minutes. I know what to do. I know who to ask for support if I can't get through it on my own. Now, most of the time I can get through it on my own. I go into meditation. I let myself feel. I drop out of my head. I go into the body. In my free guide, I give you some tips and tools that you can do right away. And I think there's a chapter or two of my book you can start in there also. And so I have over 1,000 subscribers. I think I said that in the beginning, 1,069 to be exact. So in this video today, I wanted to thank you all and share a little more personal information about me, and I will keep sharing more personal stuff. I usually make content and tools to help you, but I know it also helps to hear that I was at rock bottom and that I took a lot of, can we say shit on this channel? I took a lot, and I want to tell you, you don't have to take any more. I had one of my brother's friends one day. This was my second serious relationship, so the one before the violent one. I go through them all in my book. It's real fun. And this person, after I broke up with him, or we split, it's a better way to say it, he kept calling me and bugging me. And I got off the phone one day, and my brother's friend was over, and I was being a victim. I was like, oh my gosh, like what this person does on the phone to me. And the friend of my brother looked at me and said, what makes you think you have to talk to him? Holy crap, a light bulb went on. I don't have to talk to anyone I don't want to. I grew up with such love attachment that you just keep taking it and you keep loving everyone. And really, that's not what God wants for you. God wants discernment. Your soul wants you to learn right from wrong. And when I say right from wrong, discernment's a better word. There's nothing really wrong. There's no mistakes. There's feedback. There's no right or wrong. There's what's right for you. There's choices. I never was empowered with that. I am now. So you have choices. Know that you have choices every moment of every day. And the first thing I want to leave you with to start with is ask, please, like Karlee got on her knees and begged, I won't live this way and I won't kill myself. There has to be an answer. And that is when I didn't tell you what my answer was. I again write about this in my book, Can You Please Talk to My Trauma? My cousin Katie, who's a physical therapist, she is one of the first people I got real with. I called her one day, or she called me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I was suffering. There was actually 2 other people that I talked to. That's right, there was 3 women. 2 of them called me on it and said, it sounds like you have PTSD. But they called me on it. My cousin was the first one. I said, something's wrong with me. And I told her a little bit, and she said, have you heard of Peter Levine, Waking the Tiger? I was like, what is that? Give it to me. I got it that moment, that day. I went to the bookstore. That was back then when bookstores were all over still. And I couldn't read. I couldn't take in information because my nervous system was so overactive. It was hard to even focus. That's why I also put my books on Audible, because a lot of people I work with can't focus. They can't even read. They're hurting so bad. I get it. But I was desperate. So I opened his book, and one of the first things he said is, while trauma is hell on earth, healing trauma is a gift from the gods. Something like that. Trauma is hell on earth, but healing trauma is a gift from God, or a gift from the gods. And he's speaking to me. I finally had some relief, and I immediately started to practice what he said before I signed up for his 3-year somatic experiencing training program and became certified in this. But immediately he started saying, okay, when you have a thought, what's the sensation in your body? No one had dropped me out of my head and into my body. I was living from here up. I was in the freeze, completely shut down. And I feel like so many of us are. I thought I was the only one. My pain body, the dark, the ego, whatever you want to say, was really haunting me. And I want you to know it's not real. It feels real, and it is real in your experience. But the moment you have light and awareness and wisdom, and you have another tool, the pain starts to move. The dark cannot hold you under anymore. Now, it took me a long journey. It took me many years. I kept working. But every time I used a tool, I felt lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. Maybe I'd have step backs. I'd feel bad again. Then I'd feel better. I'd have a test. Then I'd feel better. Steps back are steps forward. Just keep going. Don't give up on yourself. Please leave any comments or questions. My email's on here. And I'd love to hear from you what you're struggling with or what you need more of. I will put all my links in the description, so feel free to pick whatever feels right for you to start your journey, that you can heal and that you can be free, because your soul knows there's a way out, and I do too. Here for you. See you next time.